Hello. Today's lesson is about rivers, or more specifically, the parts of a river. Now, there's many different kinds of bodies of water. We have oceans and seas, we have lakes and rivers, streams, creeks, and there's some differences, obviously, between these bodies of water. Our biggest bodies of water we know are the oceans, and the oceans are salt water. We can't drink this water because there's too much salt. Rivers, however, let me share my screen. So here I've kind of colored a picture of a river. So a river itself, a river is a flowing stream of water. And that flowing stream of water, it'll flow for quite a ways. A river, usually the origin of a river, hold on. So this is a river, flowing stream of water, and that river will usually empty, which will flows into other rivers, lakes, seas, or even the ocean. Sometimes the river can just kind of dry up and go right into the ground. It doesn't always flow into another body of water, but most of the time it does. So that's just kind of the thing to remember. The other thing about a river is that most of the time it is fresh water. So it is water that we can drink, although we would need to have some kind of purification process. Don't just go to a river and start drinking the water. You could get sick because there's bacteria and things in that water, but it is fresh water. So there's not salt. We can effectively drink it. So here we have a river, and we're going to talk about the different parts of a river. So I'm going to go here to like my blank river so that you can kind of see here as I illustrate these different parts. So a lot of times a river, the source or the origin, the beginning of the river will come from snowmelt from mountaintops or from rainwater that also from mountains. So the source of this river here, as you can kind of see, there's the top of this hill or mountain. So this would actually be right about here would be the source, the beginning of this river. And the next part that we're going to talk about is the upper part. So the upper part is just this part of the river that's closest to the source. So I forgot to. So the source is the origin or where the river begins. So in this case, the source would be snowmelt from the mountain or even like rainwater coming down from the mountain. We notice that like because of gravity, if you're ever in the bathtub and you like, you've washed your hair and you take your like cup of water and you pour it on your head and that water comes streaming down. So that's the same kind of thing with water running down a mountain. That gravity, it finds its path and that becomes the river. So we said here was the upper part, and that is upper part of the river is the part closest to the source, simply put. Okay, so that's our upper part of the river. Now we've kind of talked about this, just like how when we pour the water on our head in the bathtub, that path that the water takes, that's what we call the course of the river. So the course is how it flows, and it's going to flow all the way down, and then it usually will continue to take a course. And as we can see here that it empties into a bigger body of water, that flow is like, you'll notice if you ever go to a river, it always flows the same direction. And so it's that flowing from the highest point to the lowest point. And that's the course. So the course of the river is the path that the river takes, or the river flows. And we could say from the highest point to the lowest point. And just like the earth isn't completely flat. We notice that when we're driving, we go over hills, and sometimes even in your house, you might notice how your house might kind of slant. It's the same thing on earth. And so that path of the river. Okay. So next, the next part we're going to talk about is right here. You can kind of see like this area right next to the river and right next to the land, this kind of area right here. And that is what we call the bank of the river. Not the bank like you get money from, but this bank is the area of land right next to the river. People usually stand on the bank of the river, if you've heard that. So that's the bank. We also, just like up here, we had the upper part, we also have the lower part of the river. Oop. And that's going to be like right here. So the lower part would be the part closest to the mouth of the river. And we're getting ready to talk about what that is. So we can see here that this part, oh, let me go back to my marker, that this part here is getting ready to empty into this bigger body of water. Maybe this is another river, or it's probably another river. So the part where it empties, right here, where this river flows into this next river, or the sea, or whatever this body of water is, we call that the mouth of the river. The opening or place where the river flows into another river or the sea, ocean, whatever. Okay, that is the mouth. And so those are our parts of the river. You will have a Padlet that has, hopefully you can see, made you a Padlet here with all of the pictures, the definitions, the source, upper part, course, the path the river takes, the bank, the sloping edge along the edge of the river, lower part, and the mouth, where it enters the ocean or sea. And then I'll also include some videos where you can learn more about different rivers, a map that you can map out the rivers in the United States. There are, oh gosh, how many rivers are there? There are thousands and thousands of rivers in the United States, and there's something like 3.5 million miles of river just in the United States alone. In St. Louis, we have two major rivers that flow through St. Louis. We have the Missouri and the Mississippi River. But maybe you want to look at a map of Missouri and map out all the rivers that flow through Missouri. I'm from Kansas, and where I lived, I was seriously right next to the Arkansas River. And so it was really awesome. I could go and walk by the Arkansas River every day. And the Arkansas River also flows through part of Missouri. So a lot of these rivers will flow through multiple states. The longest river in the world is the Nile in Africa. And that river, if I remember correctly, I think it flows through 7 countries. So rivers are pretty amazing, and they're a source of life because we can drink from rivers. The probably the coolest river I've ever been to, which is a source we talk about. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. We talk about like the fundamental needs, the spiritual need, and it's really cool when we see how um, like the spirituality and nature kind of go together. And so I've been to India 4 times, and my last time I went to a place called Rishikesh to visit the Ganges River, or the Ganga, which is it's considered to be the most sacred river in the world. Um, and the Ganges River is a confluence of 2 rivers um, in India, really long names. Um, the first one, here, I'll show you because I brought it up on, so let me share again. Um, so this is where, so here is like a mountain, and that's like I was saying, the snow melt from this mountain um, forms one of the rivers of the Ganges. So this person went to this source. So this is the source of this river. And I always have to look. Let's see. The name of that river that we're looking at is the, oh, where'd it go? Oh, the Bhagirathi. So this is the source of the Bhagirathi River. We can see here this beautiful rocks. I love that opening. It's really cool. Oops. So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about that river. So the Ganges has 2 rivers that meet, and that's where the Ganges start. So the Bhagirathi and the Alaknanda rivers. The Alaknanda, its source is a glacier. So it's a really amazing river. I've read and studied about it because it apparently has a really unique bacteria in it that will kill other bacteria. And if you go and swim in the Ganges River, it is a feeling unlike anything I've ever experienced. It's really amazing. So it's a place like people come to, and they hope to have like spiritual experiences. So it's not the only river that is considered like the sacred kind of holy place to come. But rivers are, like I said, this place of life, that's such an important part of our world, the ecosystem. Um, it's a source of drinking water for animals. And so rivers are really important. And yeah, so I hope you have fun exploring the Padlet. I'll put different videos up. There's also, like I said, maps of, you can, if you want to map all the important rivers in the United States, like there's a few. I told you what the longest river is in the world, but maybe you want to find out what the longest river in the United States is, or find out the top 5 longest rivers in the world. Have fun, like flow with it. See what you learn and what you come up with, and I'll see you next time.